Hi, YouTube. Zari Ballard here. The topic of today's podcast is a narcissist hoovering is a timeless control tactic. To a narc, hoovering is a timeless tactic for controlling a target, validating that control, and periodically checking an ex's Q status. And when I say timeless, I mean timeless, as in time is of no consequence. Time is not of the essence. Time never runs out, and there's no time like now to hoover whomever I want, because, well, I want to, and because I have all the time in the world. Now, while the average person listening to this, who knows nothing about narcissism in relationships, might ask, what the fuck is she talking about? I'm willing to bet that all my experienced comrades here know where I'm going with this, and if you don't, bear with me, and you will in a minute. I have a theory, and I'll be right back to tell you all about it. Hang on. Hi, okay, YouTube. Welcome to the When Love is a Lie audio podcast. Today, before we get started, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit those bells and whistles and everything you need to do. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Now, today we're talking about a narcissist hoovering, which anybody who's ever been with a narc is very familiar with it. As we all know, after a breakup with a narcissist, the discarded partner will often anticipate and even wait for the inevitable hoover simply because he or she's been conditioned to do so throughout the course of the relationship. The discarded partner knows that a hoover could technically come anywhere from 5 minutes to 5 years and even longer after a discard or a breakup. In addition, the hoover always occurs with the same casual fanfare no matter when it happens, which is why we're intrigued by it at the same time that it repulses us. That the narcissist can deliver a hoover at the post-breakup 5-month mark as if he just left an hour ago and do so as if it's the most natural thing in the world continues to be a mind-blower. As we know, hoovers can come in many forms, including the following. 1. A hang-up call from a private number. 2. A call with a lingering silence or soft breathing on the other end. 3. A text from his number, or any odd number with no words in it, or a text from his number with just one word in it. Hey. Or a text from his number sent to you as a message for somebody else. A tactic I call the phony accidental hoover. Actually, there's also the 3-word hoover. How are you? Are you okay? I miss you. You know, that kind of crap. Number 4, a Facebook friend request, or an out-of-the-blue defriend, a sudden unblock from his Facebook, or suddenly becoming blocked from his Facebook. Not that you should be checking, right? But you are, but not that you should be. And number 5, ghostly yet familiar taps at the door every few months, a tactic used by my ex that I call the tap and run. It's like a twisted adult version of that childhood stunt where we ring a neighbor's doorbell and then hide in the bushes. My ex would give the obligatory 3 taps real quietly, like, and then simply stroll back to his car, sucking on a cigarette, never looking back. The truth is that he really didn't care if I answered the door anyway, nor did he even expect that I would. The point of a tap and run is simply to get me wondering and maybe even obsessing about those mysterious little taps. Was it him? Was it him? And it would work every time. Now, at the same time that we fear the hoover, we kind of sort of hope we get one, because then that could mean that the game is still on in some twisted, familiar fashion. We feel empowered when we don't respond, calling it, quote-unquote, no contact. But to a narcissist, our non-response doesn't even matter. It's a control-validate tactic that takes little or no effort on his part to get our minds reeling. And if you don't know what that is, go to my blog, thenarcissisticpersonality.com, and search for control validate. And I have an article there that explains exactly what that is. And this is good enough for him, okay, because that's really all he wants. After all, how hard is it to dial a number and then hang up? We might claim to go no contact while forgetting to close off at least one avenue of communication. Oops, So many of us do that. We begin to see everyday occurrences as possible hoovers, and we overanalyze them. Some of you even come to my website to have me analyze them for you. Like, for example, I was on Facebook today and noticed that Ray's brother's girlfriend's son's father's mother commented on one of my old posts. Do you think he's hoovering? I'm only making fun because I did this myself so many times I can't count. The crazy thing is that we're usually right. If our gut tells us it's a hoover, it most likely is. So how does the narcissist justify sending a hoover months down the road, maybe even years down the road, when the breakup itself was so awful and when he knows we're trying almost everything in the world to avoid him? The answer to the narc is in the timelessness of the hoovering tactic. You see, the narc lives a compartmentalized life where time basically stands still. This is my theory. This allows him to juggle his numerous compartments, break a variety of hearts, go completely silent, and return to the scene of the crime as if nary a second has passed. How does he do this so easily and effortlessly and with a straight face? To a narcissist, it's easy because time basically stands still. In my mind, a narcissist views the passage of time during a relationship like this. 5 years is like 5 months. 5 months is like 5 weeks. And 5 weeks is like 5 seconds, or 5 days. And then 5 days is like 5 seconds. Go ahead and substitute any number you like for the 5 in my example. The narcissist never really moves on when the relationship ends because he's actually been moving on, yet standing still the entire time. He simply has no conception of time, unless, of course, it's your time that he's concerned about, and most likely inconvenienced by during the relationship. Then and only then does time matter. Aside from that, time is of no consequence at all. It simply does not move along in a normal manner for these creatures, and the never-ending or out-of-the-blue hoover is proof of that. Are you understanding me here? Part of me believes that the narc's problem with time has much to do with the fact that he or she lacks genuine human emotion. I mean, think about it. The conception of time is actually connected to everything that is emotional. We feel better or worse with time. We use time to heal our wounds. We look forward to a certain time, or we wish a certain time would never come. On some days, time appears to move slow, and on other days it flies by. People age with time and attitudes change. It goes on and on and on. For a normal person, the passage of time is typically riddled with all different types of emotion. A narcissist isn't affected by emotion because he or she has little or no capability for it. Therefore, to a narc, time stands still. That's my theory. Doesn't it make sense to you? My theory would also explain how a narc can do the same bad things over and over, day after day, only to admonish you for living in the past when you bring this repetitive bad behavior to his attention. To him, yesterday is not the past. He doesn't know what it is exactly, but he just knows that it isn't that. It's just yesterday. This also explains why he keeps all exes on a phantom tether to be yanked back with a hoover at any moment in time. What's an ex anyway to a narcissist? To a narc, an ex is just someone he once had a relationship with and who is now being subjected to an indefinite silent treatment. Does it all sound crazy? Of course it does. Would anyone other than a person who has been involved with a narc even begin to understand it? Of course not. The hoover, if we really think about it, is some crazy shit. The hoover keeps us mentally connected to the narcissist even before it comes and long after the relationship is over. If we didn't have to worry about anticipating hoovers, no contact would be completely unnecessary. After a bit of sadness, we could simply move along with our lives like most people do after normal breakups. It's only when we realize that hoovers occur because narcissists basically can't feel the significance of time that we can begin to move on. We have to see Hoovers for what they are and accept that they lack real feeling or substance of any kind, people. Narcissists don't Hoover because they love and or miss us. By its definition, according to my theory, a Hoover is far less important than, say, the infrequent call to say hi phone call or text from an ex-boyfriend or husband with whom we parted amicably and from whom we didn't have to block ourselves post-breakup to keep our sanity. It's time to forget about the Hoovering, my friends. It's time to stop worrying and wondering if he or she is ever going to Hoover again, or if the last Hoover was really the last Hoover, or if every insignificant but related event could possibly be a Hoover. There's no way for you or me to ever know for sure if our time in the queue will come up. The bottom line is that we have to live our lives as if he's never coming back ever. And this was a turning point for me, which I talked about in my last video. On the last, like the third to the last time he left, I thought to myself, oh my God, I can't go down. So I just thought, what if I lived my life until he came back? And I did. I'm not saying it was easy, but I did. I lived my life as if he was never coming back. And sure, he came back, and I let him in, but it was different. And then the second time after that, I let him in, but I didn't even want him to come back then. And then the third time, it was over forever. I never went looking for him or anything. You have to change your perspective to change your life. Okay? While we might not always be able to completely destroy every avenue of communication, we have to do our very best to try. You can't help it if he knocks on the door, but you can help it if he calls you, texts you, gets you on Messenger and all that crap, Instagram, Snapchat. You can block and you can make sure none of that happens. Whether he comes to the door or not, most narcs aren't motivated. Mine, that happened to be one of his things, just to do the little tap, tap, tap. Sometimes they'll pull that little trick out of their bag at the very end if they've never done it before. You just don't answer the door. The truth is that our exes never went the extra mile to do anything while in the relationship, and they're likely not going to start now. Usually blocking social media and all cell phone numbers is good enough to keep them at bay. If you do at least that, you should be just fine. You got to make a commitment to not allow the narcissist to move in and out of your life as if time doesn't exist. If he had his druthers, he or she would keep you standing still, also known as frozen in time, just like him, so that you never move forward. That's the whole point of everything that he does. He will try until the end of time, which of course is endless, to keep you in the queue. And that's all it is. And what we allow will continue. Let's promise to help each other to never allow this type of life intrusion ever again. But if you do, I'm here to talk about it. Go to my website, click at the top where it says Speak with Zari. Book some time with me. I'm affordable and very accessible. And we'll talk about it. We'll develop a strategy to get through this shit. Okay? I can predict when he's going to Hoover. I do it every time. I can tell you whether he is or when he isn't, when he is. And you can plan your non-attack. Okay? So, thank you so much for listening today. This was the When Love is a Lie audio podcast. Make sure to visit my website, thenarcissisticpersonality.com, and read the articles. Like I have 90 articles there, a whole bunch of them on Hoovering. My books are on Amazon. I have my first book on Audible, also at Barnes & Nobles, and I always appreciate your time. Thank you for coming. This is the When Love is a Lie audio podcast. Hit all those bells and whistles, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.